Good morning, everybody. How are we doing on this lovely Wednesday, March 19th? We have a lot of ground to cover today, Shy. I think before we get into the big event, Nvidia, sorry, I always get that wrong. Let's do a quick plug because let's check in on the hashtag awards because I feel like something's awry. You're falling behind a little bit in your category. What
David versus
happened?
Goliath situation. I will say I don't take it personal because I honestly might be voting for Josh Brown as well, Michael Batnick, if I wasn't self-interested, because like they are the goats. Like their pod is incredible. They've been on the around the block for a while, and I'm just a new kid on the block. So I'm just grateful to be associated with them. That's a pretty dope thing to have. But
Such a
second place, I'll
diplomatic
take second
response.
place.
Yeah, a second's good. It's not first. If you're not first, you're last.
True, very
And
true.
you're doing the like best supporting actress thing where you're like, I'm just happy to be around all of these amazing people. Yeah, I'm gonna put everyone watching and StockTwits on notice. Like, if you don't go vote for Shy right now, like we have 1 million followers on X. Like, go just takes 2 seconds. Go vote for Shy. Tell your friends. Um, and we'll take that one. Let's check in some of the other categories here. Um, I actually can't read the screen because it's too small. So I'm going to Shy, can you read those?
Yeah, crypto investor of the year. We got Michael Saylor at 77%. I'm not
What?
surprised. That's a tough one to compete against. StockTwits community member of the year. We got Don Carleone 77 as the clear number one at 45%.
All
We
right.
got Hashtag Legend Award. That's a close one between Brian Armstrong and Vlad. Tenev
Ooh.
51 versus 49. So that's gonna be a tight one. Cash tag of the year. Nvidia 44%. Not no surprise.
Yeah. Vlad's got a new video up on his X. He's wearing this like Sesame Street blue sweater.
I thought he
I
was in a robe when I saw that. I was like,
right?
How casual is he being right now in that
He
video?
kind of looks he looks comfy, cozy, and at ease. He just launched the new prediction markets product. He clearly has a new stylist. I thought it was working for him, but it was a little yeah, it's a different look. Um, but guys, head to StockTwits, vote for the awards. We're gonna award them on April 30th. Shout out to eToro for being our lovely sponsor for that. But enough about padding the stats for Shy. Let's get into the markets. And I think the big event yesterday, and I saw you tweeting up a storm over there. Uh, Nvidia. What were your big takeaways there?
Yeah, so I think Nvidia was, as an AI investor, I got exactly what I wanted to get from that GTC 2025 keynote event, where they're clearly showing signs that AI isn't slowing down. It's actually accelerating far greater than anyone expected, and the computational demand that's going to be required for AI to hit its max potential over the course of the next decade is violently understated. And Nvidia is going to benefit substantially on that, not just the hardware component, really, it's their CUDA driven ecosystem. And I think when Jensen took the stage, he his messaging was really resonating across every single industry out there. Like AI is truly moving from a simple model retrieval like were accustomed to in ChatGPT to a full agentic reasoning. And that shift is going to force a massive re-architecting of computing itself. So what everyone views AI as right now in 2024 is going to be drastically different from how people in 2 years will view AI. And that's why I think I am not why I think that's why I am so heavily invested in the winners of this fourth industrial revolution because like we really aren't over at all. Like there's so much runway. AI is not going to be what AI is today. It's going to the derivatives over the next couple of years are just going to really show you what AI is going to be at scale. And Nvidia will be the backbone of it because it's they have this ecosystem. It's absolutely pricey because they have the best hardware, but really what keeps everyone inside their ecosystem doesn't explore these hyperscalers having these custom silicon chips or AMD's latest and greatest. Like, it's because of all the offerings they have in their ecosystem via CUDA. So I think Nvidia isn't just selling chips; they're selling the entire AI production stack, and that was what I got from it yesterday. And I think you also got some commentary on Blackwell Ultra, Rubin. There's also another chip out after Rubin. Like
Yeah,
they're
that
it,
was a weird name, right? It was like
it's I'm trying to find it right now.
it was like
Because
it was like a 1930s like male name, I want to say.
I mean it was a reference from the previous Industrial Revolution. Like I
Okay,
think
well,
he's
there you
he's
go.
doubling down. I'm blanking on the name, but either way,
We're gonna find
look
it.
look it
We're
up.
uh
I think it's just again one last point on that is like, listen, Ruben's not even available yet. They're talking about the next greatest after Ruben. The innovation window is tightening. There's no room for competitors right now. It just
yeah.
really is no room. So like they have a massive head start, and they're maintaining that head start. And I I don't know. I don't own Nvidia right now. I just don't feel like I need to, because if Nvidia becomes who I think they can become, and if AI is actually going to become that thing, there's other alphas I have in my portfolio that will benefit substantially if
Yeah.
AI hits its max potential. But as a shareholder, you should be very happy with what you saw yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, the guy went on for 2 hours, apparently with no teleprompter in that sweet leather
Wow.
jacket. Um, but I'm curious what you think, Shy, of it sounds like he was doubling down on like agentic AI and like reinforcing that no, the demand is there because of what happened earlier in the year with DeepSeek, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, wait, maybe there's not that much demand as needed." It sounds like he's going to your point. He's getting people to think about AI much differently and the demands of it. And I think you tweeted out, like X'd out, whatever. Um, like he says that like it's infinite demand, not infinite, but like it is. No one has enough, right? No one has enough of the. Is it the storage space? What's the metric that he was talking about with
Y-
that?
Inference. So I
Inference.
think I
Okay.
think I mean the question for investors I always ask is like whether or not you guys should not be asking if Nvidia can maintain its dominance in AI training. That's so backwards looking. Like no one else is remotely close to competing with them with their full stack approach. The real battleground for AI, and I think you heard it yesterday, was AI inference. And I think you're seeing that with how hyperscalers are kind of positioning themselves with by looking for cost-effective solutions to deploy AI at scale, knowing that inference is about to explode. And this is where Nvidia's strategy really becomes even more important, because you're seeing the launch of Rubin, where it's set for next year. You're seeing their HBM4 memory. That's going to be a game changer in the chip space. They're also then seeing the Rubin Ultra gets released in 2027, which again shows that their innovation window is just within a year. So it's going to allow NVIDIA to stay ahead of the curve. And with agentic AI driving like a massive increase in computational workloads, a lot of like people, like, it's violently underestimated how much agentic AI is going to change the game on the computational workloads. Like you're seeing NVIDIA prepare themselves to solve the next bottleneck before it even begins. And that's like why they're going to maintain their dominance, because they're just so far ahead of what the AI reality is. By the time the AI becomes that reality, they're positioned perfectly to solve that bottleneck. So I think that's while competitors like I don't know AMD are attempting to carve out market share, or you're seeing like the Metas, Amazons, Googles, Microsofts trying to create their own uh, silicon competing product, like they can't compete against the Nvidia's ecosystem. They just can't. It's too entrenched. Like the software moat created by CUDA, which you guys always hear me talk about, but it's true. Like that's what CUDA is what allowed Nvidia to enter permanence for the AI thematic. There's minimal cyclicality risk associated to it because of CUDA. It makes switching costs so much higher for enterprises who are already deploying it at scale that they're not going to deal with that headache. So I think inference is the way to go. Agentic AI hasn't really began yet, and you're seeing signs of. I think again, like you guys hear me talk that I'm not that bullish on the CRM space, but I do think the biggest tell for like when agentic AI is going to actually begin, or AI agents, is through Salesforce and ServiceNow. Those are the two lowest immediate hanging fruits in the software space that you're seeing like, oh, is it actually beginning? And we haven't gotten that signal yet from either companies.
Yeah. Yeah, Salesforce has definitely talked a lot about it, but their last earnings call, the revenue associated with it wasn't quite there yet. I'm curious, Shay, when you think about Nvidia and agentic AI, as someone who's interested in this space generally, are you also following like the data centers, the infrastructure players as part of that value chain, or are you focused squarely on the big dog, that being Nvidia?
So, my interesting angle, I think data centers are somewhat worried. I'm a little worried about the data center exposed names, like the infrastructure. Like that is a very cyclical niche within the ecosystem that I do think it's a little worrisome if CapEx plateaus. But like you don't really, they also don't benefit too much on the inference. The inference is really, you'll see names like the networking component of it, like the Broadcoms, the Marvells, the Stereo Labs. But really, the way I'm positioning it is inference, AI inference is going to cause a massive explosion in data. Data will 1000x in the agentic AI world we're about to enter. So I'm allocating my resources towards that next stage, stage two, which is the software names with the consumption model who make money based on however much their clients use their data. And if data is about to explode, these enterprises aren't going to go penny pinching on like, we have so much data in our umbrella. Like we shouldn't use them all so we can save a couple bucks. No, capitalism is about to get so brutal in the next 5 to 10 years that companies are going to use all the resources possible to make sure they stay ahead of the game. They're going to pay up, and they're going to just deal with the cost of paying up for the data that they need to dictate their future behavior. And you're going to have software names with consumption model just benefit substantially. And I'm early in that, and I've realized that I am. But when it happens, I think it's going to be very explosive.
On the data front, I bookmarked something I'd read that you just reminded me of, and it's a quote from Walmart's CTO. And they say, if you look at all the data we deal with, the logs of the customer data, everything together, you're talking about 10 petabytes of data on a daily basis. And that's, I would say, about 8 trillion pages of textual data. And so they're putting that all into context on a daily basis. So that's like the level, like 8 trillion pages is insane.
Well, I won't get too techie with you guys, but like every time you pull a query every single day, that data from yesterday just gets added on to whatever query you did before. It just stacks on each other. It doesn't replace it. So it's scary to think about because they're literally making money on thin air. A lot of these companies, it's going to get substantially bigger and bigger as it stacks on one another. And we're entering this world, like I don't want to sound too Black Mirror, but like everything is going to be data. Everything's going to be binary, ones and zeros, ones and zeros. It's just trending that way. And efficiency optimization of society, that's just it's inevitable. And I think that's everyone, like nobody will really have too much privacy because everyone is a data points, and that data points can be exploited by a lot of enterprises. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And yeah, I mean, the Walmart CEO is right. This consumer behavior is one of the biggest levers that AI is going to unleash for enterprises that you're seeing it right now the past couple of years. Like I speak something or I go on Amazon one time. Now all I see is ads tailored to what I was looking for at the time. It's happening already, guys.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more mainstream. Like I started my career in digital marketing, and so like I understood what a cookie was very at a young age, but like I got it. Like you get tagged, it's an anonymous identifier. It's not PII, but it will follow you around. And like there's, I think LivePerson's a publicly traded company. There's these data companies, and all they do is tie data together. And they have all these data sets, and you would be blown away at what they're able to tell. And like it is, for a lot of them, it is like you're just like a string of characters,
Mm-hmm.
but they do know a lot. And all these companies are selling data to each other. That's another thing I think that people don't understand.
Oh,
You know,
data
they're buying,
liquidity is everything. Yeah.
yeah. So like in that space, like are there any, like I think when Howard was on, we were talking about Reddit in that space. Like data is like oil, and like they're all selling to each other. Like that's why when you do something on Google, you see it on Meta. Like this isn't like all separated. So and that's interesting to too, is like an investor to look and see like how it's broken out. Usually it's not we sold data and made this much money, but the volume of the revenue that comes from data sales is wild if you actually dig under the hood.
So you mentioned, I'm looking up I want to get the statistic of it first before I mention the comment. But yeah, I mean, your data liquidity it's a thing. And a lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize that that's like the next derivative under the hood of like why it's so important. Guess who has a massive moat in that in their network effect? Snowflake. There's something called a stable edge for Snowflake where customers in the Snowflake ecosystem, they sell data to each other and they
Yeah.
can only do so in their ecosystem. And you're seeing one of their trends for Snowflake. It's called stable edge. If you guys don't know, that's the feature in Snowflake where it used to be maybe 10 or 15% of their customers used to do that. Now it's exploding to 36% of customers in Snowflake's ecosystem participate in stable edge. That shows there's 3,000 companies already in the marketplace listing that do participate in this. And you can only do so if you're a Snowflake customer. That's a network effect, guys. That's exactly a perfect example of like they're creating this app store for data that really isn't talked about yet because agentic AI hasn't exploded. But once it does, that's a massive secondary moat that Snowflake has that a lot of people don't reference. And it's growing 26% year over year. And the allocated weight of customers who are using it, it's just going ticking up and up and up. And that's a very high margin side of their business.
Yeah. And you mentioned a couple of times CrowdStrike. So
Hmm.
that kind of ties back here. The volume of data, the more data there is, the more cybersecurity is needed for
Yeah,
that. And
totally.
that ties in. Okay. Are there any other like on the data angle companies that you're watching that are part of that bigger trend?
Well, for CrowdStrike, I think seeing what Google was willing to pay up for Wiz yesterday, that's insane premium valuation. Guys, it's really insane because they got formed 5 years ago, Wiz, and they just got acquired for 32 billion in 5 years. That's literally a some people's university experience. If they had mono first
Crazy.
year, or like they
Mono.
just couldn't get the classes. I don't know. It was 5 years. They made 32 bill and they paid up like 60 time ARR to do so. Google did.
Yeah.
All cash. All cash. It's unprecedented that they did this in all cash for that premium. But they
Yeah.
knew this is the future of agentic AI. Data is about to explode. What do you have to do with it? You need to secure it, and you need to do it right at the source, cloud. So they have to pay up for it. CrowdStrike is the biggest beneficiary of this, and I called it out yesterday morning when I heard the news. It was the first stock that was green when everything else was fading. I don't know what happened. Yes, I think they maybe down less than 1%, but that's still a ton of strength from the
Yeah.
bloody day we had yesterday. I think like CrowdStrike's ability to organically like create the next growth avenues, these next growth modules without having to acquire is so beneficial for shareholders because you don't have to worry about them diluting shareholders or paying a premium to acquire something because they could do it in house. And those three legs, next gen SAIM, cloud, identity, they're growing over 50% year over year. That alone is worth 75 bill. CrowdStrike's endpoint security is worth, I think, at least 30 to 40 because of this just chef's kiss tier one. I think CrowdStrike gets re-rated pretty aggressively off of that bid if it goes through. We'll see if it goes through. But to answer your other question, like, yeah, cybersecurity, I think that's probably the safest component of this agentic AI world we're about to enter, where you don't have to worry about AI cannibalizing it as much. In the software space, like it's there's going to be a massive tsunami that's going to occur where you're seeing a lot of these AI agents duplicating products at a rapid pace that you can't just rely on, oh, this stock is growing this much with this much margins, NRR is this. Like you can't. It's that's you can't base it on traditional metrics anymore because things will change very quickly soon. So I would look for, if I were you guys, I would look for software companies with the consumption model, like I called out, thinking like high tide raises all boats because data is about to explode, or ones who have, if you look under the hood, like they have massive defensible moats, like companies with a sticky ecosystem that takes years to migrate their data out of, cough cough, Snowflake, CrowdStrike, a scalable product that doesn't really require too much of a S&M push. Another one is, I know it doesn't require for like software, but like logistics networks are huge. That's why I love Mercado Libre and TMDX. But yeah, you just have to be really on top of it every quarter, and you can't fall in love anymore, to be honest. Like you have to, like, if something breaks or something's cracking, you need to be very quick to it because things are going to be changing at a rapid pace, and you don't want to be bullish in AI, bullish on data exploding, but be in the wrong name. That is the worst feeling.
Wow, no loyalty. I think that's
Yeah.
such a good point, though. And things change fast. And I think
Hmm.
psychologically, you become a fan of something or you sunk cost. But to your point, you got to know when to get out when something else better is coming along, just like life, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
so the cybersecurity thing too is interesting because you could go down a whole rabbit hole with that, but you have the endpoint like the crowd strikes, but there's also companies that they use predictive AI to thwart things before they happen by ingesting data before anything. So there's a company I just came across, it's private, it's called NetEnrich, and that's
Mhm.
what they do. And it's not like stopping it at the gate, it's like ingesting data to tell companies how to structure things and how to run their business so that that never even happens. So you have all these like you could double click and double click and double click within each of these, which is a lot of fun if you're an investor, but also a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
business intelligence. That's, I mean, essentially that's what Palantir is
yeah,
solving right now, for sure.
there's this tweet that sticks out to me. Someone was asking what Palantir was, and someone just wrote back Salesforce for like killing people, and I was like,
No,
it's
no,
yeah,
it's slightly different.
it's a little different, but I was like, wow, like this is how people are. These are people are understanding these things.
Oh,
Let's flip over to the markets and see what's going on. I'm seeing some green, so that's good. We're about 7 minutes out from the open. Um, Shai, what are you watching over there? What are you looking at?
I mean, yesterday morning pre-market, I was like, I'm defensive, and look what happened. Like the market just tanked. Like, guys, this was just a classic relief rally. We didn't, nothing substantial happened. Nothing broke above any key levels. Like, it was just oversold nature, and we bounced for 2 days with light volume. But the issue for the sell-off just literally was still persistent. Yes, persistent, and we saw that yesterday. Um, Jensen didn't say anything to save the day. Powell today, today could be an interesting day for like the catalyst for the next market because FOMC's today, and I think like if Powell leans ultra dovish and emphasizes the strength of the CPI and PPI reports, that could be the catalyst needed to trigger a massive shift in sentiment for the risk on rally, like growth stocks. Uh, but if there's any kind of like iffiness or like maybe just like a little hawkishness, like if he signals that rate cuts are, um, if he signals that maybe it's gonna be higher for longer, like nothing's gonna change, like for if anytime soon, if the market starts pricing in maybe one, at best case two rate cuts, but most likely one, that's gonna put a lot of pressure and it's gonna cause the market to have a cautious stance, and it's gonna cause a lot of it's just going to cause fuels to the fire. So I think as long like, we're still below the 200-day moving average on both indices. So
That
I
picture goes
think,
really hard, by the way. Uh, it's yeah, that's a shot. I think yeah, Shy. I think something my friend Callie, who's over at Ritholtz, if you don't follow Callie Cox, she is genius. But she was sharing earlier that where's the big story everyone knows there's not going to be a cut, but it's sort of like what is the story behind the story, and she's saying to look at how concerned people are about inflation, and to your point, what is all the side commentary and what does that sound like? So it's definitely still worth listening into on StockTwits. To hear all of the anecdotal, like qualitative stuff that's going to come out of it. And, you know, she's pointing out that the last meeting, 79% of members noted they see an upside risk in inflation. In September, that was 16%. So, like, let's watch where that 79% goes, because I think that's also going to be very interesting.
I mean, if you think about it, like, why should the Fed cut rates? Like, you're kind of seeing the impact already being had on what they needed for like inflation to come down. I think you're seeing a lot of consumers change their behavior. You're seeing enterprises change their behavior. It's happening so quick. So the whole Powell stance for years has been cautious. He's always missed it. Like he's always overstayed his welcome. That's literally the ethos of a Powell Fed. He should have kept rate. He shouldn't have cut rates so aggressively before. He should have just kept it. Not. No, he should have raised rates much quicker than he did. It was 0% for way too long. It caused a bubble and it bursted. He overstayed his welcome. I think he should have probably cut rates way earlier last year than he did. Overstayed his welcome. He's very meticulous about what he does if it's a change in behavior. I think with all the new information that's happening this year alone, honestly, this past month, he needs to like wait to see more. I know data dependent. That's going to be the theme still because we have to see what's like in 2 or 3 months. Because right now, people are pivoting quickly. We don't know if that's a one-off and then we're just to the mean, or this is actually substantial. So I wouldn't be surprised if we only get one rate cut. And I do think this is a combination of like, oh, higher for longer and all this stuff geopolitically and the charts are breaking down. It just is a perfect storm for a really weak Q1 and Q2 of this year.
Yeah. We're closing in on the opening bell. Before that, I want to talk about Michael Saylor, our favorite Psy guy. And then after the bell, let's dig into what's trending on StockTwits so we can kind of go through. But Saylor, again, betting on Bitcoin. So he's launching a new perpetual preferred stock that's STRF, designed to raise cash. So he's still chasing Bitcoin, but strategy is down 4%. You guys on StockTwits are bearish. Thoughts on this, Shay?
I think he's breaking the system a bit. I always thought it was, I shouldn't say, I think it's the closest publicly traded company to a Ponzi scheme I've seen in a while. And I understand what he's trying to do. I fully get it. And I'm a TradFi guy. So I'm looking at this with the TradFi goggles on. So caveats. I studied econ in college, like at a really prestigious UC. Like I know econ. This is against everything I know about econ 101. What he's doing, utilizing strategy for what he's trying to become the treasury of crypto. Like it does not. It's not. It can't last. It's going to break something eventually. It is, and you have to ask yourself, like, why own it? Like, think about it. Like, why? Just own Bitcoin if you're bullish on crypto. Like, this is just an vehicle to capture as much alpha as possible in Bitcoin. But at a certain point, it's going to become so disruptive that maybe strategy just doesn't work. But you're going to have Bitcoin still above 70, above 80,000. But you might be holding the bag on strategy. And now you're like, WTF.
Yeah. I saw this Joe Wiesenthal. I'm gonna see if our producer can pull it up because he's making this comment. He's asking if it's accurate. MicroStrategy's average Bitcoin purchase price is $62K. Imagine investing in Bitcoin for years and years, and you're only up like 30%.
Yeah.
There's a chart there. I'd never seen it laid out this way. Like that's odd.
I'm telling you, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's just not. I hope I'm wrong because I know there's a lot of people who believe in it. It's a cult following now, but I just own Bitcoin at the end of the day. Like, just do that. Don't get greedy.
Yeah. Well, I like when he's in the headlines because it's always something weird, and I think we need some. I feel like everything's the World Wrestling Federation now, and he's a great character. Like, great character to have in the mix. And there we go with the opening bell. Trading is officially open. On that note, let's flip into StockTwits and see what y'all in the community are talking about. What are you trading? Shay and I'll go through some of these. We're also following in the chat. Hello, chat. Hello, Shane. If anyone has any specific trends, themes, stocks they want to talk about, drop that in the chat. Shay and I'll check that out. We're here to kind of explore alongside you all. So let's start by clicking into BYD because that's a familiar face, and they had some big news yesterday. And I know we briefly brought it up, Shay, but they're talking about, you know, we can charge up to 300 miles in 5 minutes. You're calling BS on that, but they did see some good spike based on that. You in wait and see mode with those guys?
I mean, yeah. To be honest, even if that's factual, like I would never invest in a Chinese company. It just doesn't make sense to me. None.
Wow.
It's like you cooking a really fancy meal. Trust? No. That's bad. Your accountant is a former felon because he lied on his in his work in this past. But he's like, oh, give me a second chance. Like I learned my mistakes in jail. Like, you know, you're gonna handle all my finances after you prove that you have no moral compass and you went to jail for it. That's how I feel about Chinese companies. Where like there's been facts in the past where they just massage the truth on the fundamentals, and like why is it different now? Like literally zero difference. And also there's a world where Z's upset with your company and they're gonna force their hand, and Jack Ma is the
I
Steve
forgot
Jobs
about
of the Chinese
that.
era. Yeah.
Did they find him?
Vanished. No, he just came back out of nowhere. I don't know where he was.
Like popped out of a cake and he's like, JK. I forgot about that storyline. Okay, here's the thing. I don't want to go down like a conspiracy rabbit hole, but like, don't you think everyone's it's something they talk about the economic numbers coming out of China. Like, you don't think we fudge ours a little? You think that's fully like?
Oh no, I'm talking like stock specifically.
Okay,
like the company specific, like.
And that's because the regulatory environment, like they're not cracking down.
It's not as tight as U.S.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. It is an interesting because I think the charging thing is definitely an issue for people. If you look at like different charging maps, I know even with some of like the Rivians, the off-roads, people are like, cool, I'm going to drive this into a national park and then it's just going to die. So the charging's a big issue. So we'll see if other people follow suit. Let's keep flipping around and seeing what is trending over here. Ethereum up 7%. Honestly, I thought Eric Trump killed that thing on his own a few weeks back. Let's see why they are trending. And if you obviously click on the little arrow guy, you can see why. So it looks like they announced the Pectra upgrade. So they're finally back at the 2000 level. Obviously, that's a very there's a community of people who are very passionate, but they were dormant for a bit. They were laying low and they're loving the news. You got any? I know you're TradFi, but you got any thoughts on ETH over there?
I mean, I hear the two camps of ETH, Solana. I think there's I think ETH, the blockchain behind ETH, is still looking for something to solve and a problem solve. It's just like it's not taking off in the enterprise space as much as I thought it would, because it makes so much sense on why that blockchain would just work. It's just like it's just not, and it's just not for some reason. But also the TradFi guy, like if I'm bullish on crypto, like I'm an old geezer and I was buying Bitcoin, and I own one Ethereum coin. Literally one years ago. I still own it. Just
why not?
I don't know. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I own some. I own a derivative of Shiba Inu. This is definitely don't do what I'm doing. I have a brother who convinced me there's a Floki Inu, which is Kimball Musk is like tangentially related. So we were both like, oh, well, like maybe Elon will pump it. Like never happened. So don't do that. We have someone in the chat asking about BlackBerry. It's a marquee tech player right there. it's interesting. I'm on the StockTwits page, and I don't follow this company closely. 6 months ago, 82% bullish. Now we're at 24, very bearish. You follow these guys at all, or this is kind of just like a meme that's not on your radar, Shy?
No, I mean they're completely trying to rebrand. I know that.
Yeah.
Let me look up exactly what it is. So
Now, I
BlackBerry,
had a
yeah.
BlackBerry back in the day. That was, yeah.
I mean,
Keep
I think
going.
everyone's, I think everyone's, like BlackBerry isn't just a phone company anymore. They're trying to pivot to software. They're trying to pivot to IoT and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So like people are thinking there's gonna be somewhat of a second wind because they're getting leaner. They're adopting to what the world, new digital economy. But like, they 10 years ago they were making $2 billion. Next year they're
Hmm.
making 500 million.
Yeah.
And this is, I know they're rebranding, repivoting, but like, do you want to catch a falling knife on a company that is worth $4 billion and they're only making 500 million with negative margins? So like
Yeah.
they're like last year they made 853 million. In 3 years they're supposed to be making 585. That's they're negative CAGR for the next 3 years, while margins aren't expanding either. Like this is the definition of a bag holding. Like they're not going anywhere. It's going to take time to just make that pivot to software. It's not going to happen in a flip of a switch. It's going to take time. So if you treat it as a PE, you're a PE company, and this is a private market company that you just think you see like they're positioned to like actually get some market share in cybersecurity and IoT, then okay. But I see zero signs of anything substantial just from my looking at it right now of that's happening. So I could be wrong. I just looked at it for briefly a couple weeks ago because I saw someone ask me. I just looked at it again right now to remind myself because it was a very brief overview and I did a couple weeks ago. I just don't see it. Their margins are expanding though. That's maybe nice to see, but
Yeah.
like the margins are just like gross margins expanding, but their actual free cash flow net income is.
Yep. Let's keep flipping through. I see here, where'd it go? Boeing up almost 5%. And if we tap into the little blue flame here on StockTwits, Boeing CFO stated Q1 is broadly tracking to expectations and free cash flow could significantly improve. They've obviously had a rough go of it past few years. Let's see what the StockTwits community's bearish, 37%. Shy, do you have any thoughts on these guys in particular?
They have a duopoly in something that the world needs, but corporate governance. It's the same issue at Intel. Do you believe they actually can do the right things to capitalize on it? I have zero proof on them actually doing that. And it doesn't matter how good of a product you have, if you don't have the right captain leading the ship, like it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
You can have the top greatest ingredients in the world in your kitchen, but you have a shit poor chef, you're gonna have a really bad meal. That's exactly what like Boeing and Intel have been the past 10 years. Incredible product, incredible duopoly and what we need. They just have the worst leaders in place right now, board of directors wise and CEO wise, that they won't do anything with it. So that's my 2 cents. Like, great. I mean, not even a great product. Like I look when I book tickets, I look to see if there's an Airbus option. Like I'm telling you, like I think a
Wow.
lot of people are like that, where I just don't trust Boeing's at all.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a couple setbacks there. Looking back at the trending, Ripple ripping right now, up 10%. I'm going to assume, yep, SEC appeal was dismissed. So more the same, all of these investigations, these back and forths with regulators and these crypto and these fintech companies are all just getting wiped off the board. So I think people thought this was going to happen, which I'm surprised that this is jumping so high. But it looks like Ripple fans are very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean it's a very crypto day, but yeah,
Yeah,
Ripple. I can't even speak.
there's
I
a
don't know,
lot to
guys.
be excited about
Yeah,
over
I,
there. Looking ahead, so I'm curious, what are you snacking on over there, Shy?
a bar. I'm starving.
What kind of bar is it?
It's Nature Valley Fruit and Nut.
Okay. Yeah. I chipped a tooth on. What are the ones? Not those. Those are chewy. What are the ones that are like concrete?
Oh my god,
I
I
fully
grew up with
cracked it.
those. I know exactly. They're the messiest bars to eat too.
You
They just get
take one
everywhere.
bite, yeah, it just
It just
disintegrates.
explodes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's green packaging, whatever it's
Yes.
called. But yeah.
Well, enjoy your breakfast over there. I'm looking ahead. I think tomorrow is Nike earnings. That's what I'm watching just because it's, obviously a familiar brand, but they have their new CEO in there. He's been in there, I think, since October. So I think this is his second. So tomorrow's gonna be interesting to see, like, okay, what's actually changing, what's happened. Yep, there we go. Yeah, I cracked my tooth wide open on that thing. So embarrassing. I go to the dentist, like, what happened? I'm like, I bit directly into a granola bar, like. Um, but with Nike, they also had that Skims announcement they made before, which people are excited about. I don't know if those products are on market yet. But that's an interesting one to watch, but obviously they're in the bucket of consumer discretionary that hasn't been going so hot. Do you have any thoughts, like as a consumer investor on Nike in particular, Shay?
Or would not touch it. But you also have to ask yourself like what FUD is being priced in the stock already.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like a blue chip company like Nike, doesn't matter what CEO, it's going to take 12 to 18 months to turn anything around substantially enough. Like they're still in the detox phase of the previous management or previous
Yeah.
strategy. It's going to take time. So like I think expect the worst. Maybe an okay print can be viewed as wow to the market, and if that happens, it might run, but it's just it's gonna take time.
Yeah.
And I also think that they've been spending a lot of money on S&M, and that's gonna come at the expense of their margins because I don't think consumers really changed their behavior too much in the past 3 months. But Nike's been spending a lot more money on advertisements that they weren't in the previous regime, and that probably is going to be somewhat of a worrisome combo. And yeah, it's just a company is turning it around. It's going to take it's a 2026 summer story to be honest
Yeah.
than now.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about the new leadership, and if you're outside of like the advertising world, historically Nike built its entire business and brand on like brand marketing, so TV ads, big celebrity profiles, things that are send signals and create like an emotional connection with consumers that really worked well for them, but much harder to measure. And as digital media took off, those channels are more measurable. So your Google ads, your Meta ads, that's getting away from these like big emotional things, and it's more like using data to target somebody. They looked at a shoe on Tuesday, I'm going to show them this same shoe on this website tomorrow. So in the past leadership, they shifted way more to that angle because they could measure it more and it was more predictable, and they knew we're going to put this many ad dollars in, we're going to get this much sales. But it was the argument is at the expense of the vibe of Nike, which was like that was the whole point of the entire business,
Hmm.
was this aura. So to your point, they're going back. They're blowing a lot of money on commercials. I think they had Super Bowl ads. It's going to be interesting to see if they can recapture that magic, or if it's like too late and like the new generations coming in aren't holding them up to the way that like perhaps we were growing up with Jordan and things like that.
Well,
It's interesting.
I think they're you can see what their new strategy is just from Super Bowl. It's targeting women's sports,
Yeah,
women athletes. It's not like what it was before, where football, I mean not basketball, like
yeah,
MJ and like LeBron, like they're going towards the woman demographic, especially in sports, because maybe their ethos is they're getting people are expecting them not to win anymore because of whatever reason. That's kind of the ethos that women athletes always experience their whole life,
yeah,
where it's just a women's sport, or they're not as fast, they're not as strong as males, and they've always had this uphill battle. Again, I'm just coming as this. I've been in those corporate strategy meetings for these big companies. I know that's a conversation that's being had of like that's kind of symbolic of what we've been going through in our narrative for our company. Let's double down on that and really embrace that and f things up a bit. I think that's their strategy. I love to see it. I think it's a ballsy one, and I think it's
yeah,
great to provide visibility in a really under spotlighted part of sports. And I think
yeah.
a great theme to see, and I'm really here for it, and I hope it works.
Yeah, I think you bring up something interesting because I think with that ad too, a lot of people saw that and they're like, you could fall either way. Is it like too woke? Is it a nice message? But like at the end of the day, there's like an economic reason they're doing this.
Oh,
And if
totally.
you look at Lulu, Aloe, like who's spending money on this stuff?
Yeah.
Women. Like there's a financial opportunity there. Like I love the ad. The message is great. I totally agree with you. But like, let's not get it twisted. Like they are seeing like Aloe, Lulu, Rip, and those are mostly women. Like even if you looked at American Eagle's earnings, they have Athleisure. Like their women's line is like doing great, and the dudes aren't. Dudes aren't dropping a
Well,
bag on Under Armour. I guess.
guys are going to continue buying those basketball shoes for Nike.
Yeah.
Like, as a former college basketball player, like literally, I would
Are you
only
gonna
wear
drop
certain.
that in there, Shy?
I think it's well known. Everyone could
What?
see.
Wait, what? What position?
Everyone could see me. I point guard. I'm only 6 feet tall. Like I had to be point guard. But
Fun fact. Okay, so
Fun
you think
fact.
dudes are just like whatever the Nike dunks? They're gonna keep going
But
there.
I literally wore Kobe's my whole life. It's
Yeah.
really hard for me to change shoes because it just psychologically it's a little weighed. When in basketball you have to pivot so much and like there's a lot of free range of movement that if you change what you've been doing for years, it's unnecessary headwind. So guys are very safe on their recurring purchases on Nike. So let's just focus on the other demo.
Yeah.
And like you said, our athleisure sucks. It's very male dominant. It's just
Yeah.
very team oriented athleisure. It's not really for the Janes out there who are just like, oh, let's just go shopping and I'm gonna wear like my Lululemon pants, my Aloe top. Like nobody says that about Nike as a woman. Like I'm just gonna wear some like
Yeah.
Nike sweats and a
Yeah.
Nike top. That sounds weird.
Casual Sunday brunch with my performance. I think you nailed it because Nike, the advertising, the Super Bowl was very performance driven. It was like winning and grit. And then the Skims thing is like, that's clothes you're chilling in. So they're
Totally.
trying to like get both. I think the whole space is fascinating because Under Armour went all the way to performance. Like talk about things you don't wear chilling. Under Armour.
Yeah, 100%.
They have like weird patriotic, like there's like eagles.
Well, they
screaming
messed
at
up.
you.
They completely messed up like the last 5 years. They
Yeah.
effed up.
And Kevin Plank's back, right?
Yeah, he is
Think he
back
came
because
back?
they effed up big time, and I think they lost. Listen, consumer space is freaking brutal. It is
Yeah.
the most brutal. Like once you're out of the spotlight, you'd be surprised of how difficult it is to go back into that spotlight. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
take. People are gonna forget like what you used to be like when Under Armour signed Steph Curry like back in the day, and like they're just really going hard at a lot of these great and The Rock. Like, they're going really hard on these
Yeah.
great campaigns. Now it's just like they haven't really done much. It feels old. It feels like not cool, and I think you have to have some kind of aura now around your brand, and it has to be constantly innovating to the next latest and greatest. And like Lululemon, their aura sucked the past 2 years. Like
Yeah.
sucked. Like their color schemes are awful every freaking year on spring. Like I walk to the Grove all the time. Like that Lululemon store is a flagship store for them. Those color schemes suck. Even the
Yeah.
one like this recent one, like is ill.
What are the schemes? I've never bought any Lululemon in my life. Like I don't know if that's a flex or not. But
It's not flat. I mean, it
what
could be
are
a
what
flex.
are like? Is
Not
it like
cheap.
earth tones, neon?
No, it's like hot. It's neon pink and white. It's just like it's just so aggressive. It feels very I don't know,
like 90s.
stage like 90s. Oh, it could be that's why. But like I don't know. It should be more. It feels very Coachella like you're just going to party for some reason there.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, Lululemon just. I think there's also a theme where I participate in this. 'Cause my fiance hates me wearing like skinny like, sweatpants now, like the ones that are tailored to the lower. It's like the trend is like
You wear tapered
baggy-
pants.
tapered sweatpants, like Lululemon
Okay.
tapered sweatpants. That used to be okay, but apparently the last couple of years it's not, and it looks douchey, especially in LA. So
What are you
the
supposed to? I guess that's hard if you're a dude. You do like wide legs. That's also weird.
it's joggers. They're
Joggers.
Thank you. Yeah, we are boomers.
They're called-
Thank you,
yeah,
Keith,
shout out
but-
our producer Keith. By the way, it's Keith's birthday today. I'm assuming he's turning 24 based on the fact that he knows they're called joggers. HBD.
Oh, well, he did not tell me it was his birthday.
I
I will
just saw
say
it
he
in
was
the
complaining about his back problem this morning, so now I think it's a little more than 24.
Uh,
32. Nice.
oh. 32. Is that what is like? Is that his Shaq year? Who is number 32?
Karl Malone.
Okay. Karl, that's. I hope you don't have a Karl Malone.
I hope his girlfriend doesn't.
Yeah,
For
I hope you have a
doesn't have
different
Karl
kind of
Malone.
year than that one. Let's go back to what's trending, see what else is up. There's a lot of names here I don't know. Kind of want to like click into one just to see what's up. We got, let's see here. Kirkland. That's only down a little bit. That's not that interesting. Let's see. Williams Sonoma. Tanking. Down 13%. People don't want to spend $400 on a pan, allegedly. They had a Q4 earnings announcement. Mixed reception to that, and their future guidance was weaker. Again, another retail stock that's just, man, getting torn up a little bit.
I mean, guys, like discretionary spend goes away for companies like Williams and Sonoma. It's the same thing. Restoration Hardware. Those two like companies, like when things are bad or iffy, like they will hurt the most. And you're seeing that like that's a brutal sell-off. And
Yeah.
wow, I did not know it was 450 to 220 is nuts in 6 months.
Yeah.
Oof.
On the other end, so I think
Oh, in 3
tomorrow,
months, jeez.
would you see?
It's in 3 months, not even
Oh my
6 months. So
God.
it's been like there must be down
Yikes.
something happened.
Yeah. On the other side of that, so I think tomorrow, Pinduoduo reports, that's Temu's parent company. Back over to the China stocks. Forever 21, which if you're a millennial woman, was like a staple in your life for so long, they just went under and they directly, kind of petty, they directly blamed Temu and Shein. They're like, these two people were the problem, not the fact that we sold shitty clothes for 15 years. But that's one to watch too, to see on the other end of things, Temu, how that's reacting vis-a-vis the Williams Sonomas of the world. And I don't follow Temu closely.
I mean, it's the most annoying freaking company ever for their ads. If you ever go on there, they bug you so much with the ads. I mean, listen, it's the cheapest among the China names, so it runs the hardest when China's running hard as a bucket. But like Temu is just like sketchy in my opinion. If I really don't
Yeah.
trust the Chinese numbers, like I really don't trust whatever they're producing for Temu side. I also think they're trying to tackle Africa, Temu. So I think
Wait, what do you mean? I didn't know
the,
that.
the African e-commerce.
Wow.
So I don't know how much they're going to succeed because it's not the same landscape as other
Yeah.
continents. It's like the Wild Wild West where like a lot of the addresses don't even have numbers. Like they
Yeah.
actually have to like figure it out. That's why Jumia has such a massive moat where like they've been there for over a decade. They know the landscape.
Yeah.
I just like regarding Jumia, like they're the one that just like I got it wrong clearly. I still see an avenue for them to capitalize on the the region. Africa's region is by far the highest CAGR growth in the next decade. By far, it's just so underutilized right now, underserved. Jumia has a first mover advantage. I feel like as enterprises want to tackle this arena, they're going to partner up with them because it's not worth the capex, the headache of figuring it out. It really isn't. Temu's getting into space. They're not partnering up with Jumia, so that's like, why is that? It's weird. I also think that Starlink is going to be a game changer in that region where digitizing an underserved area like Africa is going to be a game changer for e-commerce companies because, guys, they can't order stuff like everyone else can. Like they just don't. So Jumia, I think also their currency headwinds been a huge issue. Those days might be behind them if the dollar keeps going the way it is. Might be a tailwind, who knows? But yeah, once we're in the deglobalization stage right now as a world, so like it's kind of tricky, these kind of weird regions. But yeah, it's something to monitor for sure.
Yeah, well, we definitely hit a lot of topics today, and I know everyone's excited for the Fed meeting. That's 2:30 today again. You might not think there's going to be news coming out of it, but there will be a lot of commentary that is definitely worth digging into. So hopefully you'll join us for live streaming here, right here on StockTwits. And Shay and I will be back tomorrow morning. And we hope to see all of your shining faces in the chat and in the app.
Thanks, everyone.